So welcome back to another session of reflections. اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. Oh Allah, I ask you for knowledge that is going to be beneficial for me, which is going to help me improve myself and improve my chances of attaining your mercy, both in this world and in the hereafter. And Ya Allah, grant me rizq which is halal, which is tayyib, and allow me to do those deeds which are acceptable and which will allow your mercy to shower upon me and my family and the people around me. And Ya Allah, please don't make me do any such amal, any such deed, any such action in which there is show, there is ostentation, there is kibr, there is riya, which we know will be rejected by yourself. So Ya Allah, please keep our intentions pure. On the topic of intentions, why are we here? Again, we're here because we want to fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us, O you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from a fire. So I'm here to, Ya Allah, prepare myself for the grave and for Yawm al-Qiyamah, Yawm al-Hisab, where I will be taken account for. My actions, my deeds will all be measured and weighed. So Ya Allah, I'm here so I can be presentable. Just the way you sent me into this world, you sent me pure, you sent me clean, you sent me sinless. Ya Allah, I want to return to you in a manner in which I am pure, I am sinless, and at the same time, I want my family members to be in a similar situation, and the entire society as well. So first and foremost, I'm here to rectify myself, learn where I am going wrong, learn what I need to do, and then bring those things into action. And then, inshallah, through my good akhlaq, through my ability to form relationships, bonding with myself, with my family members, with the people and the community around me, inshallah, we will all enter Jannatul Firdaus bighayri hisab, inshallah. If you haven't already, please grab a pen and a pad. Please make notes. And then after the session, please make an effort to share it at least with your spouse and family members, and anyone else who you are in a relationship with, who you can discuss these things with freely and openly. And then lastly, let's try to apply, because it's only the application which is actually going to be beneficial for us, inshallah. So today's topic is around self-respect, self-esteem. In Urdu, we call it izzat-e-nafs. Okay, we probably heard this word as well, izzat. So I just want to open it to the floor, and I just want to ask everyone, have you ever felt insulted? And if so, what has been the cause? Why have you felt insulted? What's the incident been? What's the situation? What happened? Okay, so we have some messages coming through as well. Feeling insulted for making a mistake. Feeling insulted for getting the food wrong, not cooking properly, not getting the right grades. Feeling insulted for telling the truth. Okay, subhanallah. So yeah, the whole insulting game. So when a person feels insulted, how do you how did you feel when you felt insulted? What did you feel like doing? How did you feel? Did you do anything? Did you say anything? Okay, so we felt like cutting ties. Okay, so I reacted. I was very angry. I felt insulted for being myself. Okay. Felt like crying. felt belittled, reserved for the next time around them. Felt so bad. So the reason why I've brought this up about feeling insulted is because this has a lot to do with tarbiyyah, especially with children. But I think we just need to go a bit deeper into understanding what it means to have respect, what it means to have self-esteem, what does dignity mean? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way He's created us, or any human being, they have an element of dignity, they have an element of self-respect. Everyone wants to be respected and valued, irrespective of age. So whether you're old, whether you're younger, everyone has some level of self-esteem and dignity. Now, as time grows, um, what happens sometimes is the reason that a person feels respectable can change. So if am in a senior position in the community, then I will demand respect because of my position. People will start demanding respect, expect people to treat them in a certain way because of their qualification, because of the way they look, because of the wealth that they have, etc. So there's lots of reasons why people would feel this way. Now, again, it's very natural to feel the need to be respected. But then the question is, why do we feel insulted and offended? So the reason why we feel insulted or offended is because our self-esteem or dignity has been threatened or questioned. So quite often people get offended when their personal beliefs or their identity or their intentions, they're threatened or their intentions are questioned. That's when a person really has, feels that my self-esteem here is under threat, it's being affected. So what happens is the self-esteem here is harmed, and that triggers off emotions. Those emotions can be like we described, some people feel like crying, some people will feel angry, people will feel ashamed, they'll feel embarrassed, especially if their self-esteem has been harmed in a group of people. I mean, that group can be family members, it can be in the workplace, it can be in town among strangers. So there's different levels of reactions. Now, all that depends on the situation, like I said, the people around you. It depends on your own psyche. It depends on your own resilience. It depends on your own understanding of the situation and how you deal with comments, how you deal with abuse. So the feeling also depends on your relationship with the person. So the more closer you are to a person, we can say the greater the harm a person is going to feel. So if you love someone dearly or you look up to someone, then if that person disrespects you, you will naturally feel more pain. Now, when this is an adult, like I said, it can trigger off a response. So if an adult is triggered off, if I am triggered off, it might result in I can reply back. There may be a verbal response, there may be a physical response, there may be an emotional response, there may be a delayed response where I'm going to look for an opportunity to harm the person again, or harm the person in retaliation. So I look for an opportunity where I can harm their self-esteem. So there's lots of different ways where people can react. Similarly, as we mentioned over here, as an adult, we will want to distance ourselves from such a person because you no longer like this person. This person is making you feel insecure. They've insulted you. You feel threatened. So you don't want to go through that entire experience again. That guilt and shame that you have just been put through, you don't want to feel that again. So you're going to keep yourself at a distance. Okay, no one wants to have their self-esteem harmed, especially in front of other people. So if we think of some examples where our self-esteem may have been affected or harmed, then we can say, for example, there is someone who's maybe cooking at home. Okay, so your wife or your mother or someone in the house has spent all day long preparing a meal, and when that meal is served, something goes wrong. It might be the fact that the meal has been served cold, or it's too salty, or there's not enough salt, or it's too spicy. Anything can go wrong. Now, before we go on to what's going to happen next, did this person who spent and sacrificed all day preparing the food, did they intentionally prepare the meal where it's served cold? Did they intentionally prepare the meal where there's not enough salt or too much spice, or it's not served in the manner which the guests or the family members here would have liked it to? Okay, so I think we can genuinely say the intentions were pure. The person never intentionally meant to cook the food wrong or miss something or even burn it. Okay, but what happens when the food arrives on the table? When the food arrives on the table, and if someone is sat there and there's family members or guests around, then all it takes is for one person's reaction to say, "What kind of food is this?" Okay, or "You've forgotten to add the salt again." Like, this tastes disgusting. I should have ordered a takeout. Not only do we respond verbally, okay, there will be hand gestures. There may be, for example, slamming the table. There'll be an expression on the face showing disgust and showing, your disappointment that how could you get it wrong again? Implying that you always make this mistake. Now, what are the people around the table going to think? And what is that person going through? So over here, the person's self-esteem, the person cooking the food, their self-esteem has been harmed through these simple words. Now, quite occasionally, the comments are made as if it was the person's intention. Okay, so no, it was a mistake, right? But we don't realize our words harm other people's feelings. Now, will this person want to cook again? Will this person want to ever serve again? Okay, so as adults, this is a very simple example which I've given where a person's self-esteem can be harmed. Now, let's take a child. So, there's a child and he's walking and he spills a glass of water. Now, what's the most common response that as adults we would give to this child? So anything on that? What's the most common response? Why did you do that? Okay. So just that question, why did you do that, is implicit because what you're saying is you did it on purpose. And if you ask a person, why did you do that? Well, I didn't do it on purpose. It was a mistake. Yeah, you don't know how to walk sensibly. So is this how the child walks all the time? Right. So here we have to be, just look at the response. Now, if there was an adult who dropped the glass of water, what would our response be? Would we say the same thing? Why did you do that? Like, can't you see? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you blind? Or you ruined my carpet? You ruined a piece of furniture. So I don't care how you're feeling. I don't care about your emotions. I don't care about your self-esteem. What I care about is my brand new carpet or wooden flooring or the sofa which you have destroyed. How will the child feel? What will happen to their self-esteem over here? Their self-esteem is being harmed. Now, unfortunately, because the child is so young, they don't know how to reply. They don't have a grip on their emotions and they don't know how to express themselves. But if we were to look deep inside the mind of this child, they will be extremely upset. Absolutely. They will be hurt. But unfortunately, because of their age and our superiority, they will remain quiet out of respect. But deep down inside, they will be harmed. So here there's a question. What if you reflect over it and apologize and say it's fine and not to do it again? Is that good enough? No, absolutely. So there is some The situation has to be rectified. We do need to make up if because we've genuinely hurt a person. Now, the problem here is we don't see kids as humans. We don't see kids as equal humans. We see adults as equal humans, and we can't harm their dignity and self-respect, so we will go and apologize. We may even buy a gift, or quite often, if you see like on Google reviews, or we post a comment, someone from the contact center will contact you, apologizing, offering a discount. So we need to do the exact same here to a child, and we need to see the essence of this entire situation is if we want to do the tarbiyah of our children and we want to build their self-esteem and dignity, and if we want to nurture them to be confident, we want to nurture them to be respectable in the future and respect us, then it's very simple. Stop treating the child as a child. Treat the child as you would treat an adult. So if an adult was to drop the glass, what would your response be? It would be very different. If a guest was to drop something in your house, what would the response be? So inshallah, I'm hoping it's going to be very different and it's going to be respectful. It'll be okay, no problem, we'll clean it up. But if a family member does this, and especially a family member who is younger, and especially if it's a teenager or a child, the response is completely wrong. So absolutely, we do need to apologize. We do need to make up. And what's the problem here? The problem is MyTarbiyyah. I have not got a grasp on my emotions. I have not got a grasp on what's more important. Is my child and the safety of my child more important, or is the thing, the materialistic thing, more important? Yani, I'm not prepared for the materialistic thing to be harmed, but I am prepared to harm my child's self-esteem. I am prepared to harm their dignity. So this whole issue of respect and self-esteem, let's take it a step further. What other examples, practical examples, can we think of? Okay. Exams, results, assignments. You scored a poor mark again. I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. What's wrong with you? Are and we've even come to hear phrases such as like, are you stupid? Like, don't you understand? All these comments are extremely derogatory. Would we use this with an adult? Would we use this with an alim? Would we use this with, a guest who comes into our house? We wouldn't. So what gives us the right to use this language with our children, with our siblings, with our family members, with our spouses? So we really have to think sarcastic comments. They also harm the dignity of a person. When is in the last time, again, let's reflect back, in a gathering, someone has cracked a joke. Someone has cracked a joke where it's we felt insulted because of something which we did yesterday or last year, or there was something silly that we did. We felt insulted, okay? So for the audience, to please the audience, to entertain them, and to bring a smile on their face, we're prepared to harm and insult our fellow sibling, spouse, kids. Now, quite often we'll crack jokes about kids and we'll show pictures. Oh, guess what? He did such a silly thing. Would we show the same picture or tell the same story about our spouse? Or what if someone was to tell the same story about us? How would we feel? We would feel very uncomfortable. So what gives us the right to tell stories and crack jokes about kids? Sometimes quite occasionally we laugh at the way kids talk. Maybe they have a lisp and we begin to talk in the same way. This is very harmful. If an adult was to copy the way you are talking, okay, you made a mistake, and if an adult was to repeat your mistake, talking in the same manner, how would we feel? We'd feel really offended and embarrassed. But what gives us the right to do the same with little kids? And they're switched on. We think that they may be 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. They know what's happening. The problem is they don't have the ability or the expressions or the understanding or the vocabulary in order to tell you how disgusted they feel. Okay. But that feeling has been imprinted on them in their hearts and minds. It's stored there. And you know what happens later on in life? When the opportunity arises, the child will also find an opportunity subconsciously to also insult you. They'll come out with a comment, and later on in life, you'll think, oh my God, he's hanging around with the wrong company. He's hanging around with the wrong company. Ever since he started this school, ever since he's made friends with such and such, he's become so rude. He's become insulting. That's not where it started from. It started from the age of 2, 3, 4, when we used to, in the in thinking that it's entertainment, we used to insult and harm the child's self-esteem. So this is where it comes round. Okay. And if I was to take it further, you know, uh, the mother will say that, oh, since he's got married, I don't know what the wife has done. She's completely brainwashed him, and he was never like this before. But we don't go back and reflect what this mother had inflicted upon the child when they were young by harming their self-esteem, by mocking them. Another example, if someone was to walk into the room, if someone was to walk into the room, so say for example a judge walks in, okay, or a lawyer or an accountant or someone respectable walks into the room and your child is sat on the sofa, how, and I would like to open it to the floor, what would we say to the child? Okay, this person wants to come and he wants to sit down and your child is sat on the sofa. How would we address the child? What language do we use? Okay, stand up and do Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so we will tell the kids, stand up and do Assalamu alaikum. Okay, mashallah, it's interesting that this has come up now. If an adult, if an adult is sat on the sofa, so say for example you're sat with your spouse and someone walks into the room, how would you feel if your partner said to you, stand up and do Assalamu alaikum? Would you feel uncomfortable? Would you feel insulted? Absolutely. So why do we do this to the kids? It's not farz. I mean, we say this out of respect, okay? So to respect our guest, we're prepared to harm and disrespect our children. Can you see? To please other, and what happened? This child will think, my father was absolutely fine with me. My mother was absolutely fine with me. We were having such an amazing laugh. Then all of a sudden, this guest comes, and all of a sudden, I'm made to feel like I'm a Mr. Nobody. I'm being told to get up from my chair. Get up, move, make space for uncle. Can't you see? Like I had a perfectly fine relationship with them, and all of a sudden, this person has come and he's ruined it for me. So how do you think this person will feel towards the guest? He's going to feel, I wish this person never came to my house. Because each time he comes, I am being insulted. Each time he comes, my safe space, my one-to-one I was having with my father, with my mother, it's ruined. So what would we do over here in this situation? So absolutely. So, we have a question here. What if your intention is just to teach? So many a times we do things with good intentions, but they have consequences. So mashallah, the intentions are, may Allah reward us on our intentions, but there is the proper methodology as well. So in this instance, this needs to be role model. So we would get up. Assalamu alaikum, how are you doing? Okay. And we would expect, I as an adult, if I am coming into a gathering where I see little children sitting, then I shouldn't have the expectation that this person is going to get up for me and do salam to me. As an adult, I need to understand the child is under training, he's not aware. It's not farz. If this child doesn't get up, then it's absolutely fine. It's no disrespect to me. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to their level and say, Assalamu alaikum, beta, how are you doing? And if he doesn't offer me his seat, it's absolutely fine. So as elders, as guests, if we're visiting, we should be a bit more tolerant. We need to understand children are children. They will make mistakes. Again, They didn't not get up out of disrespect. They did it because they simply don't know yet. So as adults, what do we have to do? So as an adult, I will get up. I will do Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Now in the background behind the scenes, there needs to be some ta'lim, there needs to be some tarbiyyah. What is that? If we talk about the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, afshu salam wa at'imu ta'am. Okay, there's lots of hadith where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has given us instructions and blessings and reasons why we should do salam. So behind the scenes, this tarbiyah is going to go on. Now, if the child fails to get up, then there's going to be a much nicer way. Ki beta, our uncle is here. It's such a pleasure to see him. Okay, come on, let's do salam together. And let's have our conversation later. Okay, why? Because again, guests are a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's going to be a lot of work that's going to go on in the background in our own time in those conversations. So here, we have my sister saying, my son is saying, this happens to me every time with family members. I have to give up my seat and I don't like it. Absolutely, because we're treating our our youngsters, our children as third class citizens. Unfortunately, is it a cultural thing? It shouldn't be the case. Now, the tarbiyah has to be done in such a way where they are prepared to give up their seat. So now the question is, when our parents enter our room, how many times do we get up and give our seats to our parents? How many times have we got up and given our seats to our young ones? So here, through role modeling, our kids will naturally learn to give up their seat. Our kids will naturally learn to give salam. When we go to the masjid, when we're out in town, when we're meeting family and friends, or even strangers, they come out, the hadith is, afsh salam, spread salam. How many times has my child see me do salam? How many people do we meet in a day? 10, 15, 20? So they need to see us doing salam 10, 15, 20 times a day. That is perfectly normal to do this. So all of a sudden now this becomes habit. So we no longer have to tell them, command them to do salam. So again, my tarbiyyah, I need to role model this behavior. Another thing which, what else harms a child's self-esteem, the respect element that we talk about, is let's look at sort of exams and results. Now, already, if we look at the whole education system, and if we have teachers on here teaching in Islamic institutions, in madrasas, then I really want you to take this message back. At university or at school or college, can we remember during our examinations where we didn't come first, second, or third? How did we feel? It wasn't a good feeling. And eventually, I mean, we would try so hard to come first or second or third just to be in the top three to get those gifts and get some recognition. But because we didn't get recognition, what would happen eventually? We'd give up. I mean, I know for a fact I tried so hard and eventually I realized, you know what, I'm just not going to be the top set for maths. It's just pointless. Now, at the same time, because of the whole grading system, I'm being made to feel as if I am a substandard, you know, person, student at this school. Okay, I can't make it a top set. I can never get an A. The best I'm going to get is a C. The best I can get is 50, 60, 70%. I'm no better. So now here the self-esteem is being harmed through the grading system. Then when the child comes home, the child already has an issue with his confidence, with self-esteem that, you know what, I'm just not worth it. When he comes home, we say, but you're clumsy. You're not studying. So this repetition of you're clumsy, you're not studying, you're not working hard enough. Why can't you come first? I've spent so much money on you. What's wrong with you? How is the person going to feel? He's going to be made to believe that I love my parents so much that I trust them. And if he's saying I'm clumsy, you know what? I am clumsy. And we have seen on so many occasions where these people grow up to be clumsy. And that's what they honestly believe. If they make a mistake, oh, that's just me. I'm just clumsy. I can't do it. So they never have the spirit to try harder. They don't have the spirit, they just don't have the zeal or the motivation because we as parents have told them that your value is based on your results. Your value is based on your grades. So their self-esteem has already been affected in school, in madrasa, or in any institution through the grading system. And then at home, we're harming it even more. This child will never grow up to be successful. Or even if they do, they will not grow up to love us. They will never grow up to be connected to us. Why? Because we have harmed their self-esteem. So what do? They will go out in search of someone who will protect their self-esteem, who will say to them, you know what, you're worth it. I like you the way you are. So in our classes, this is what Sir Salman always mentions again and again. What we need to say to our kids is, "Tum jaise bhi ho, mere ho. तुम जैसे भी हो मेरे हो तुमसे ग्लास टूट गया तुम मेरे हो तुम एग्जाम में फेल हो गए तुम मेरे हो." Okay, so in English, I can't really get the true spirit of the Urdu into English, but essentially what it's saying is, I love you no matter what. You are mine. Whether you pass in the exams or you fail in the exams, I still love you. You are mine. You belong to me. I still have the same level of respect for you. You broke the glass, no problem. I still love you. You went and committed a sin. I still love you. When we have this environment of safety, when we have this, and we always talk about this in the workplace, is employees need to fall back on, they need to have like a safety net where they can fall back on and feel safe. When you feel safe around someone, you're prepared to take risks. You're prepared to, um, you know, push the limits because you'll fall back onto someone who'll say, you know what, it's fine, no problem. I've got your back. Keep on trying. You failed once, no problem. Keep on trying. Because I don't value the result. I value your effort. I value your intentions. A person, like we just had this question. Um, my intent. It's about intentions. At the end of this, the dua that we mentioned earlier. You know, um, that, oh Allah, accept our deeds, make us do such deeds that are acceptable. Deeds are accepted. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Deeds are accepted upon their intentions. This is what this is what we need to realize. Okay, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes effort, the result is in His hands. If this is the dunyawi, this is the worldly narrative, is give me the results and I will respect you. Okay, bring me the millions and I will respect you. If this principle was to be applied on Nuh alayhi salam, where would he be? What's the results? You lived such a long life, 900 odd years. What's the results? You couldn't even bring a handful of Muslims. You couldn't even convert these people. So according to the dunyawi standards, na'udhu billah, the Prophet's a failure. But that is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to judge us on the day of judgment. He will judge us on our efforts. So if Allah is judging us on our efforts, who are we to judge our kids or our siblings and spouses on the results? Yani it doesn't make sense. And the moment we start judging people on results, where do we draw the line? Then we start judging people and giving them respect based on the way they look, based on the way they dress. And all of a sudden, what happens? We have a divide in society. We have the divide of the social classes. We have the divide in terms of economics. We have a divide based on looks. You're more beautiful, you're ugly. No, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. And what's more important is my effort. An effort in what? Effort in trying to make people happy, effort on building relationships, effort on trying. And all this again goes back to where do we build our self-esteem from? Where does our respect come from? Where does our respect come from? It doesn't come from grades. So we need to stop judging our kids and giving and building their self-esteem based on grades. Not everyone's going to be a millionaire. Not everyone's going to get an A star. In school, in college, in madrasa, not everyone is going to be in first position. Okay? Not everyone is going to come second. That first place is only reserved for one person. Does that mean everyone else is of a lower class? There's only three people, but every we see the pedestal, there's always three. Pole position, first, second, and third. So where's the rest? Does that make them substandard? That is not the criteria of Deen. Jannat is not only open for the people who come first. Jannat is not only open for the people who look good. Jannat is not only for the people who have good qiraat. Jannat is not only for those people who have millions. No. Jannat is for every single person who makes the effort with a pure intention, period. Irrespective of the result. This is the criteria of my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what builds a person. If every person can stand up now in the sight of Allah and say, Ya Allah, you've given me this opportunity, I tried my best. I don't care what people think of me. This person will continue trying, like Nuh alayhi salam. What kept Nuh alayhi salam going for such a long time? What kept Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam going? You know, those first few years in Makkah Mukarramah, he suffered so many hardships. What kept him going? It was purely because it's the effort that counts. My Allah has commanded me, the results are in His hands. That's it. So this whole issue of self-esteem, self-respect, we need to understand where does our self-esteem come from? If we want our kids to become imams, we need to treat them like imams from a very young age. If you want your child to be a leader, start using the language of leaders from a very young age. When I say from a very young age, the moment they start talking, start treating them like leaders. How would you treat a leader if they was to come to your house? How would you treat an imam if they were come to their house? How would you treat an imam if they were to make a mistake? How would you treat an imam if they were to cook the food incorrectly for you? How would you treat an imam if they were to drop the glass? How would you treat an imam if he made a mistake in the qira'at in salah? But when that same child makes a mistake at home, all hell breaks loose. When the same child makes a small mistake in his exams, that's it, you're grounded, not talking to you, I'm going to stop your PlayStation. And it's because, unfortunately, we see ourselves as superior to our kids. So when it comes to respect, when it comes to dignity, we are not superior. We're not superior. We need to give our children the same level of respect that we would give to adults, that we would expect other people to give to us. And again, this is the lengthy discussion that we had earlier as well, and we were discussing essentially what the world has come to. For those of you who live in Batley, Dewsbury area, and you know Fox's Biscuits, and if you've ever had the opportunity, or you know someone who works in Fox's Biscuits, so when they're manufacturing the biscuits, it's going through a conveyor belt. Okay, now the biscuits that come out of the machine, which are good, end up in a box, and that box can be then packaged up, and it'll go to the premium supermarkets, and they will have a higher price tag. The biscuits that come out where the chocolate has melted or it's spilt over to a side and it's not they don't look, they're wonky biscuits, right? So like we see in the supermarkets now, we see the wonky fruit. Those biscuits are packaged up in a different bag and then they go to the Fox's shop to be sold at a discount price. This is exactly what we are doing to insan. This is exactly how we're treating humans. You are a premium product, you're a substandard product. You're the cream of the crop. You will be given this opportunity. You will be given this level of respect. You will be given this special packaging, and you will be placed on this shelf. The wonky biscuits, the wonky kids, in our eyes who are wonky, but in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're perfect. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they also have the opportunity to enter into Jannatul Firdaus with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But in our eyes, those wonky biscuits end up in the cheap discount section. This is how the entire system has is functioning, and we have taken those principles and applied it to our children. We've applied it to our spouses and our family members. So this is something that we really need to go back and reflect on, is what is this izzat nafs? My child has dignity, they have self-esteem. I need to treat them with respect, and I'm not going to judge them. You know, it's the effort that counts. It's the effort that counts. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. A person can be disabled, he can be a failure, but if this child was to die today and he's not baligh, this child is destined to go to Jannah. It's me, I should be worried about myself because I've passed that age of puberty. I'm in the puberty age. Every single deed of mine here is being counted. I should be worried about myself. Okay, this child is pure. I shouldn't be worried about him. So this is something that we really need to go back and reflect on. And again, going back to the activities that we were asked to do, and I'd like to share this with the group as well, is if we can just go back and reflect on those moments in our lives where we have been insulted, we felt our dignity, our self-esteem to be hurt us, we feel threatened, write them down. Number one, forgive those people who have hurt our self-esteem. Number two, make sure we don't do the same. So forgive, make sure we don't do the same with those very same people, and make sure we don't do the same with our kids, because it will really harm their confidence. So when they grow up, it's going to be a big problem. And this is again all linked back into relationship. This is how relationships are formed, where a person feels same, where the self-esteem, the dignity is respected, it's maintained. So later on in life, then this child, when he's 14, 15, 16, they will always come back to you for advice because they feel safe around you. And we've given this example before, and I'll give it again. The Sahaba, their self-esteem and dignity was maintained by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to such an extent that they would come to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they would say, Ya Rasulullah, have I done zina? Can you please help? Okay, to the extent that we hear the Sahaba coming to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and saying, Ya Rasulullah, I've become a munafiq. If our children, just imagine if our child was to come to us today and say, Dad, I think I've become a munafiq, what's our response going to be? But this was the sunnah of the Sahaba going to the Prophet ﷺ and saying, Ya Rasulullah, I think I've become a munafiq. Really? Okay, tell me what you're going through. Why do you feel this? And then the whole conversation takes place. That was because the Sahaba's self-esteem, their respect, their dignity was maintained by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And if we are believers in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, we need to follow not just the kalima, we're not just going to follow the physical appearance of the Prophet, we need to follow his actions. We need to understand and study how is it that he treated the Sahaba. How did he treat the kuffar? He even maintained their self-dignity and respect. When the Sahaba came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, when he was talking about another Sahaba, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, please don't talk to me about anyone because I don't want to face that person with these thoughts in my mind. Yani my heart and mind has to be so clean and clear. I don't want to hear anything bad. Why? Because again, that will it will have an impact on the response and the way you treat the person. Why? Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never wanted to harm anyone through his words, through his actions. And going back to the hadith, the Prophet said, protect. I will guarantee Jannah for the person who protects his fellow Muslim brother and sister from his tongue and from his hands. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability. So again, as a take-home exercise, try to make a list, forgive those people. Please don't repeat it with those individuals and certainly not with our children. And to end, tum jaise bhi ho, mere ho. Okay, I love you no matter what, you are mine. I don't care what, you are mine. If we can have this relationship, then we're on for a success. We're on for a winning, inshallah, family. Safe space, actually, just one point which I want to talk about. Who's heard of safe spaces? So if we have a thumbs up or a comment, has anyone heard of safe space? Yeah. So what is this concept of safe space? So if we look at them, I mean, you can just go into like Wikipedia or something. I'm taking the definition from Wikipedia. So the way they describe safe space is the term safe space refers to places intended to be free of bias, conflict, criticism, or potentially threatening actions, ideas, or conversations. Okay. So at the moment, there's this huge, um, absolutely. So when a person is free to talk. So now the government and institutions, colleges, universities, schools, all these departments are setting up safe spaces. Why is there a need for an institution to set up a safe space? It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had commanded us as parents to create the safe space in our homes. Because we have not been able to create that safe space because of our bad akhlaqi, because of our judgmental attitude, because we haven't worked on our temperament, because we don't know how to handle situations, people are having to resort to third parties. The whole concept of safe space has to be outsourced. Outsourced to who? People who don't know me, they don't know my language, they don't know my culture, they don't know what I've been through, but I should be able to have a conversation. That's really disappointing. That safe space should have been in my home, but unfortunately, I was too focused on building a house. That safe space for the wife should have been the husband. The safe space for the husband should have been the wife. For the kids, it should have been the parents. For the siblings, it should have been each other. But we've not worked on ourselves. We've not understood this concept of respect and dignity. And just because of entertainment, we've completely just ruined everything. So let's create those safe spaces in our houses. I mean, if we talk about Islamic institutions, right? How many of our students, and especially for the teachers amongst us, how many students can come up to us and discuss their problems with us? How many children? Alhamdulillah, if people are coming up to us, if kids and teenagers and our students are up to us and discussing their problems with us, it's fantastic. Amazing, because it shows that we or you have created that safe space. You've created an environment, a relationship where the person feels at ease. Now it's a case of fulfilling that responsibility and and being able to guide the person. Okay. But the safe space needs to start off from home. The safe space needs to start off from within us. I mean, I'll go a step further. Do we feel safe having a conversation with ourselves? The 5 dimensions of relationship we talk about. Can I even have a deep reflection and conversation with myself? Do I feel safe with myself? There's a lot of work that needs to be done. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost give me the ability to understand, and all of us give us the akhlaq of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where we are able to safeguard the dignity and respect, where we're able to safeguard and protect and be a covering. We talked about Sattar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers the mistakes of other people. That's what we need to do. That's what we need. We should have an environment where we're able to cover the mistakes of a person and just ignore because we know they didn't do it intentionally. We should be able to, and inshallah, in return, we make dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers our mistakes in this dunya, and He also covers our mistakes in the akhirat, and He allows us to enter Jannatul Firdaus bighayri hisab.